Go inside the big house for a look at the 2000
Healthy Aging Kit. Call 866-354-1825. Defy your age with Cenegenics.
Plus.
Welcome back, everyone. The Ohio State Buckeyes actually leaving this morning from Columbus, making the hour and 45-minute trip from Columbus to Cincinnati to play this spring game here at Paul Brown Stadium with Glenn Mason and Ashley Ignelzi. I'm Eric Collins. Ohio State coming out here to southwestern Ohio, getting an opportunity for some exposure here in Cincinnati.
Well, you know, that's a lot of good football players down here, a lot of alums down here.
Something, though, that you go around Ohio and you recruit in Ohio, you go up to Cleveland, it's basically, yes, sir, I'll sign. You come down to Cincinnati, a lot of times these high school kids are like, well, I'm thinking about Notre Dame. Well, I'm thinking about the Cincinnati Bearcats.
And God forbid we're thinking about Michigan.
Oh my goodness!
Michigan's very strong in this area. You're right. It's a Buckeye State, but still is a little bit different reception when you come from Ohio State down to Cincinnati than when you go to Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland. Where do I sign?
You know, partner, I'm starting to feel old. Maybe because I am old, but you know, there's a young guy out here playing, Frank Epitropoulos. You know, he's a backup wide receiver. He's a backup
punter.
Number
33 in gray.
Yeah, and his John and Ernie Epitropoulos, brothers from the Warren area, were here when I coached. In fact, John wore number 33. He was a linebacker. And
no flag on the play for illegal shift.
I remember, you know, as a coach, you have to field some tough calls. Well, anyway, John was a backup linebacker, and he got a chance to play. The guy ahead of him was injured, so he played, and he had a great game. He intercepted 2 balls. He was the Midwest Defensive Player of the Week. Okay, he was the star of the game. Next week, the starter was back. He didn't even play the next game. That phone call from his dad. Oh, I mean, you get a phone call. Hey, oh, you know. I said, I'm the offensive coordinator. I don't care. You recruited the guy. You know? that was one of those things you don't have a good answer. You know, you better just keep your mouth shut and take the beating because, you know, you're right. You know, he was that good one week. He should play the next.
That's one of the ways why how college football has changed. At a place like Ohio State, there was a time you could go 7 deep. You get everyone. You know, you just unlimited signees. Nowadays, you have to deal with limited amount of scholarships, and you have to make do with what you had. Now, Ohio State, don't get me wrong, they're still deep. But you used to be able to sign whoever you wanted and just keep them in your own backyard.
Well, you know, the days of 30 scholarships a year, and Big Ten wasn't big on redshirting. Of course, freshmen weren't eligible either. That same time, the Big 8 conference had 45 scholarships a year. But guys were not leaving early to go to pro football, and so when you look at the raw numbers, there's a lot less opportunity. When you start talking about 85 scholarships, you know, typically you never hit right at 85 because there's some built-in attrition you just can't count on. You can't oversign to take care of that. So if you have 85 scholarships, a lot of time you're in the, you know, 72, 73 range. Now start talking about all the positions that you have, 11 on offense, 11 on defense. You got all the specialists, punters, kickers, long snappers. Really not a lot of scholarships.
Last catch made by Chris Fields. Cardell Jones having to throw a bullet late, and it is incomplete. Some decent pressure played on there by Jamie Wood. Was it David Perkins? We've got 2 21s on the defensive side on the Scarlet team. That's Jamie Wood. Now, Wood is a safety. David Perkins is a linebacker. If there is a flag down on it, it's going to be an automatic first down for the offense. So Cardell Jones and this gray offense going to have 4 downs to try and punch it in. See, yeah, Jones still a work in progress. That's one of those difficult upperclassmen throws, trying to throw that fade back part of the end zone.
Well, you know, you made a good point there. You know, you talk about, okay, we got 4 downs to punch it in.
Yeah.
Now, how do you punch it in when you're in a spread offense? You know, I mean, different philosophies, one different than other, but, you know, now you think about tradition and history, and you talk about them putting up a statue of Woody Hayes now. If Woody Hayes was watching this game down here on the 5-yard line going
Where's
on
Jim
up,
Otis?
So that, I mean,
that works. There's a touchdown.
I mean, he'd like that, but
A lot of different ways to skin a cat. That's Michael Thomas on the touchdown.
And he'd be coming off the ball. You'd be in that fullback tee, robust. He called it.
Give it to Pete
26,
Johnson.
27, get it on in there. And if you didn't get it in there, you didn't want to come back to the sideline. I promise you that.
Michael Thomas has had a nice spring game. Cardell Jones with the touchdown pass. Drew Basil's going to be back out to kick the extra point. We have seen Kyle Clinton come on, not kick a regulation field goal, but Clinton has come on and just attempt some of these extra practice field goals throughout the course of this afternoon. Michael Thomas, 5 catches, 67 yards, and that touchdown in this spring game. Let's go down to the field. Ashley, take it away.
Well, Coach Herman, other than his blonde mohawk, how have we seen quarterback Braxton Miller grow and change and develop since we lost Sam in the fall?
Well, I think when he's calm and settled, he's got a lot better understanding of where to go with the football, where last year, A, he wasn't very calm and settled very often, and B, even when he was, he didn't quite understand where to go with the football. So now we just got to work on keeping him calm, keeping him settled, because when he is, he's pretty good.
Efficiency-wise, what do you want to see from your wide receivers?
We got to go compete for some balls. There's some, in basketball terms, some 50-50 balls that are out there that are either incomplete, intercepted, whatever, batted down, that our wideouts got. We got to go prove to ourselves the rest of this game and then throughout two-a-days that we can go up and make those plays on those 50-50 balls.
I think Buckeye fans were relieved when Carlos Hyde said he would be coming back. A player like him, what does that do for this offense?
Oh, well, he's probably the best tailback I've ever had an opportunity to be around, just in terms of size, speed, shift ability, tackle breaking ability, and pass protection, all that stuff. And he's really worked hard to hone his craft and get better. So it'll be a major plus for us this season.
All right, Coach Herman, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Back to you guys.
Ashley, thank you. That's one of the things that I think a lot of Buckeye fans really commend Urban Meyer about. He thought outside the box when trying to fill out his coaching staff, and Tom Herman, one of those outside the box choices. Very young guy, didn't have a lot of pub around the college football world, came from Iowa State, but he has been a real find. He's one of the great offensive minds in this game, and he's turned out to be a heck of a recruiter. He recruits down in Texas, and he's brought in some highly thought of athletes for the coming years.
Yeah, I think on paper it didn't make much sense when Urban came in here, and all of a sudden Tom Herman, people are saying, Tom who? Tom where? Iowa State. What's the connection? Where did they, cross paths? But, you look at what they did, last year, and I don't know if Urban knew about his recruiting ability or not, but what Urban was looking for was somebody from a philosophical standpoint matched what he wanted to do with his spread offense. And, obviously he found that.
This is Kyle Clinton once again getting opportunities to kick into this swirling wind. We're seeing a whole bunch of these kicks off the mark or short, but it's a windy day. We mentioned 16-mile-an-hour winds before this game began, and you're looking at the flags above the goalposts, and they're kind of going every which way. It's kind of a difficult test, I'd imagine, if you're Drew Basil or Kyle Clinton and trying to kick the ball here. Well, we're in Cincinnati. Of course, if we were back in Columbus, we could get up close and personal. The brand new Woody Hayes statue right outside the football complex. He's got the hands on the hips, looking stern.
Yeah, he's got that jaw set. I can tell you that. One thing about Coach Hayes, when he made his mind up to do something, he was going to do it. And you talk about someone that was totally dedicated to the Ohio State University, Ohio State football, and the state of Ohio. He loved Ohio State, and so many guys that went through there, like myself, you didn't understand what Woody was all about, what he was trying to teach you while you were going through that. But when it was all said and done, as you get older, maybe you have kids, you figure it out. I mean, a lot of times people in the Midwest, when I make speeches, they'll say to me, "You played and coached for Woody Hayes?" And I'll say, "Yeah." They said, "Was he crazy?" And I'd say, "Crazy enough to put in an institution? Nah, but if he was in, you might not let him out, And I say that tongue in cheek. I've got all the respect in the world for him. But I'm going to tell you some 3 things that, in my estimation, that he really really stood for was that he always had the players' well-being at heart. You know, I mean, he might chew you out because you fumbled the ball. Don't go to English class, he might deck you. You know, and I mean that in an affectionate way. Number two, he had the ability, players were very important to him, and he had a way of letting you know that. And last but not least, that if you had a bind, if you really had a problem, you could go to Coach Hayes, and he would go to the wall for you. And I think over the long course of time, that's why they put a statue up for him. That's why, you know, players that maybe didn't like him when they were playing for him, all of a sudden have so much respect for him after they figured it out and they matured in their life.
Kenny Guyton still in the game. That's Armani Reeves on the coverage defensively.
Pass interference. Defense, number 26. Automatic. First down.
A lot of things have happened in this game, and Armani Reeves has made some nice plays. But that's the second time he's been called for defensive pass interference. That'll be noted by the defensive coaches.
That's one of the things, still the coach of me, I wish that defensive pass interference was reviewable on replay, because so many times when I look at games and as an even announcer, I see that there's no consistency in the college game and when that's called and when it's not called, and a lot of times it's called incorrectly, in my estimation.
Jumping out of the backfield and making another catch, Bryante Dunn loses the helmet in the process. Now, if this is a regular season game, he'd have to go to the sideline. See how strictly Ohio State's enforcing it. They are going to put him to the sideline.
Yeah, it's amazing with technology nowadays and how many helmets you see coming off. And I think what they're trying to do is, you know, no player wants to leave the game. So let's get that helmet fit properly. Let's make sure the chin strap is on properly and tight, because if it comes off, you're going out of the game.
What did you think about how it was enforced last year? Oh. Did you think that it was problematic in the college game, or did you think that it really ended up being kind of a whole bunch of nothing?
No, I think it was a good rule that was passed, and I think that there was some cases. I never saw a game personally where there was a large number, nor did I ever see a game where a helmet came off at a critical time in a game that might have had bearing on the outcome of the game.
This is the first time today we've seen Kenny Guyton perform with the Scarlet team. This has generally been Braxton Miller's domain. So Kenny Guyton getting a chance to work with, for the most part, the first team offense. And Guyton, was he touched? No, he was not. That was Craig Fada who came in on the pressure, number 38 in white. Fada's had a nice day. He thought that he had the sack of Kenny Guyton, but it's not the call on the field.
He was protesting to the official, to Urban Meyer, to everybody. He said, I had that guy. Come on now.
Fada, former walk-on. This is a guy who was impressed so far this spring. Coaching staff telling us that he's starting to make a name for himself.
Well, I go back to what Urban Meyer said before. You know, hey, you want to earn a spot in depth chart, you do it now. And he's consistent with that. And
quick slant, incomplete.
And talking with Urban, the other thing that came out loud and clear, Eric, that I was really impressed with, he says, you know, everything we do, every drill, there's a winner and a loser. I want to instill on guys, and because I'm looking for the competitive spirit. Last year we won 2 football games in overtime, and it wasn't because of coaching, it wasn't because of talent, it was because of competitive spirit. So they're trying to, you know, instill in that in their players right now. There is a winner and a loser.
And there's a winner and loser of this game today. No, the loser doesn't have to walk home to Columbus, but there is some manual labor involved. Losing team today, when they get back to Columbus next Friday, they have to do a little community service, putting Buckeye Grove, where the Buckeyes plant a tree in honor of every All-American. They've got to get it back into pristine condition. All trainers, managers, assistant coaches, GAs, equipment folks, they've been assigned to either the Scarlet or the Gray team, and they will have to take part in this project, the losing team cleaning it up and making sure that it looks just the way Urban wants it to look. Right now it looks like the Gray team could be in line for getting dirty come next Friday.
Cleaning up Buckeye Grove, that's a new tradition on top of a tradition. I talked about Francis Schmidt and the Gold Pants Club. There's going to be some place down the road where all of a sudden there's going to be some loser of this game having to do that, and someone's going to say, whoever started this anyway, and it's going to be Urban Meyer.
He also started those quick calisthenics with the student section before every home game last year. That was met with positive reaction. That's coming back here in year 2. Guyton wants to throw on first down. Now going to move out of the pocket, scamper out of bounds.
Well, Urban's done I think has been a genius in some areas. You know, that student appreciation day, you see the turnout, and you know, any way you look at it, first and foremost, the football team is an extension of the student body, and the programs that are really successful, like Ohio State, they get great student support. I mean, you see that all the time. Those students will come no matter what the weather is, and regardless if you're undefeated or haven't won a game. Students at Ohio State love their Buckeyes.
Another completion. Well, before the game even began, this is the only time that the quarterbacks were getting involved in the hitting. Braxton Miller and Kenny Guyton. Very quick, spirited but quick.
I heard that quick whistle. Yeah, that was a quick whistle right there. Hey, how about, let's go back to our halftime interview with President Gee, huh? How about, you talk about a fan, he says this is the only game he can watch because during the regular season, he's too nervous to watch the game. I don't know if I quite believe that, but I mean, I think that tells you where his heart is into Ohio State athletics.
Guys are starting to change jerseys now. Just saw Chris Fields, who has been on the great team, he is now on the Scarlet team, and he scores a touchdown for the Scarlet team. Makes you wonder, now that he's on the Scarlet team, is he going to try and get out of cleaning up the Buckeye Grove?
Hey, that's a good point. You know, it might be negotiable. And they ran that little reverse right into a corner blitz. It should have been blown up, but it went for the touchdown.
So Chris Fields beginning the day on the great team, now scoring a touchdown on the Scarlet team. That's his second touchdown. He has scored one for each side now.
You know, the other point that I like what Urban's done, they have a big banner on their practice facility called The Chase. And when I talked to him about it, he says, you know, we're all chasing something. He says, you know, if you're a first-year player or a journeyman player, you're chasing a position. You're chasing a position on the depth chart. You know, if you're a starter, a season starter, you're chasing, you want to be an All-Big Ten player. If you're an All-Big Ten player, you're chasing, you want to be an All-American. If you're an All-American going to senior year, you might be chasing a chance to play the National Football League. And if you're a team, you're chasing a championship again, and a national championship. I love the thought, I love the message that he's conveying to his football team.
Still working on these long field goals. Urban Meyer telling us that last year they really didn't have much of a field goal game. They only attempted 11 of them on the year. I guess you'd always rather have the touchdown than the field goal, so you can't complain too much about that. Buckeyes had no problem scoring touchdowns, but just in case, this is something that needs to be worked on. And you see Urban Meyer so close to Drew Basil and the holder Kenny Guyton on each of these attempts.
See, no one knows his football team better than Urban Meyer. You're right. Last year they didn't have to kick many field goals. He might be thinking in his own mind, thank goodness we didn't because we're not that good. Well, next year we might have to. We might not be as good in the red zone. We might have to rely sometimes on field goals. They haven't had that type of work, so they're going to spend extra time in the best setting, competitive setting that they can have right here, just like they're working on their passing attack.
Mace, the coach at Ohio State that you coached against, Jim Tressel, you'd imagine if he had a spring game, you would have been just happy to do this for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Have nothing but field goal attempts. Man, did he love the three-pointer.
Yeah, well, you know, Jim did a great job, and Jim and I have always been good friends when we were both assistants at Ohio State. He was there for a couple of years. We lived by each other. We used to ride to work every day, but, you know, Jim was really out of that traditional Ohio State mold, Woody Hayes, Earl Bruce. I mean, what he was going to do is he was going to play ball control. He was going to play great defense.
And he had a great one on Mike Nugent, too.
That's right. Kicking game and field position. And you know what? He knows that, you know, more often than not, it's not that you win a game. It's the other guy, because of his mistakes, loses a game. And he wasn't going to lose games. He was going to make sure that he had all the the percentages on his side so that he might have to win it, but more often than not, the other guy lost it.
Well, a more traditional spring sport coming your way tomorrow. It is Big Ten baseball right here on the Big Ten Network. Michigan hosting Penn State. Then we will have Purdue and Illinois. Coverage starts tomorrow, noon Eastern, on BTN and BTN to go.
You're a big baseball guy.
There's been some good baseball played around the conference this year. Indiana's off to a terrific start. Ohio State not too shabby. Minnesota's got terrific pitching. Purdue was the pride of the conference a year ago, making it to the NCAA tournament.
You know, you talk about University of Minnesota baseball, and I think John Anderson does a tremendous job up there. You know what the weather's like up there. I mean, I don't know how he ever, you know, I mean, you had the opening game in the new Siebert Field, and it had a snow delay. Come on now.
First two games, one was a snow delay, one was a freezing rain delay. But yeah, Dave Winfield, Paul Molitor, they've been players coming through there over the years.
Glenn Perkins.
Cardell Jones still in at quarterback for Ohio State. Completes it to Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas has had a good day, and that was one of the guys that Urban pointed out at the beginning. I want to see what he can do.
Out of Los Angeles, California. He's now a sophomore, 6'2", 199 pounds. Told you he's very good friends with Braxton Miller, and that's never a bad thing. You always want to be buddy-buddy with your quarterback if you're a receiver. Helps get you the ball more frequently. Warren Ball continues to get use.
You never have too many running backs, I can tell you that. One day you got a lot, next day you don't have any.
Ohio State going to start the season off tail end of August. First game is going to be against Buffalo. Out of the MAC. Non-conference games against Florida A&M, San Diego State, and Cal out at Berkeley. Talked about this at halftime. This is the schedule, the first 4 non-conference games. Then the conference season begins September 28th. Wisconsin at home, then Northwestern on the road, and then a bye, one of 2 byes the Buckeyes will have during the conference season.
Now, I hate to do this, but you asked me a question before, and I dodged it. When you look at it, that schedule sets up awfully, awfully good for the Buckeyes. And you would think if they stay healthy and are as good as everybody thinks they can be, that the first real showdown will be that last game of the year.
Michigan. And those road games, I guess maybe you're slightly scared going to Evanston and taking on Northwestern, but really, it's Ohio State against Northwestern. That's generally not a problem. Then you've got that test against Michigan end of the year. Whoa, man. Cardell Jones saying, where's that black jersey? Can I get one of those?
I just got a tweet from Pat Fitzgerald. He didn't like your comment.
You know what? When Pat Fitzgerald beats Ohio State, then maybe he'll send you that tweet.
Oh.
Under 3 minutes to play here in the Ohio State spring game. What do you think about Cardell Jones, what you've seen of him? Obviously, he looks the part, 6'5", 240 pounds. But do you think he's got the feet and the arm to play at this level?
I think he's got the arm. I've watched him throw the ball out to both outs to the short side of the field, open side of the field. It goes out there on a rope. He stands tall in the pocket. He's not a guy that has nervous feet. I think he just needs some reps in what he's doing. But he's got a good arm. And I don't know how his running ability. He's a big, strong guy. I'm not sure he's as elusive as a guy like Braxton Miller, but he's got good running ability. You don't want to tackle him too many times.
And he's got those good roots. We mentioned he's from Cleveland. Went to Glenville High School. It's the same high school that produced Ted Ginn, Dante Whitner, Troy Smith. So many wonderful players of recent vintage at Ohio State.
Yeah, all of a sudden what Ted Ginn Sr. got going up there at Glenville, the number of players that have gone through there, not just for the Buckeyes, but for a lot of schools in the Big Ten area. Truly amazing.
Just a reminder, following this one, we have got Michigan's spring game. Right here on BTN to the end zone, incomplete. Nice defense play. Ball is broken up in the end zone nicely by Nick Sarek, sophomore from Cleveland's St. Ignatius High School.
So what do you think? You think you looked at that non-conference schedule? I mentioned this before, but do you think Brady Hoke, when he's at San Diego State, scheduled, as he calls it, Ohio? What do you think?
It's quite possible. It will probably be in that time frame. Ohio State has played San Diego State in the past. Remember, almost in 2003, 2004, they played San Diego State.
And San Diego State, that game was a whale of a game. They could have won the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's the non-conference schedule. Buffalo out of the MAC, San Diego State, Cal on the road, and then Florida A&M. That's a game that won't happen anytime in the future because Florida A&M out of the MEAC, that's a 1AA program, and those are being phased out of the Big Ten rotation. What do you think about that development? No longer playing FCS schools.
Well, I think that, there's been a lot of scrutiny over these non-conference schedules, that they're not very competitive many times. And in our business, I know the TV people don't like it. And let's face it, people that are, paying $70, $80, $90 a ticket sometimes to see a really on paper a non-competitive game, they're not very happy about it. So I think going in the right way. Now, the collateral damage is a lot of those schools use that big payday to play against the Big Ten schools, really to finance the rest of their athletic department the whole year. So I guess there's a positive side and a downside to everything.
And a small scale, I kind of like the purity of the numbers. You could score 8 touchdowns sometime against an FCS school, and really, what does it mean? Red Grange wasn't doing it. The numbers need to be consistent throughout the years. And to me, if you're Urban Meyer in Ohio State, if you're Brady Hoke in Michigan, you've got the best players. Challenge yourself again by playing the best teams.
Well, I would agree with you. And the problem is that you start talking about
pass is intercepted. Is that Sarek again? Kevin Niehoff actually got that interception. Well, they announced Niehoff, but it's not Niehoff.
No.
We don't have a 26 in Scarlet.
Well, that's the problem in these games. You get late in the games like that. You got guys playing for both teams, guys switching jerseys. It is
Niehoff. The back of the jersey says Niehoff, but he was not supposed to be wearing number 26. All right, so congratulations, Mr. Niehoff.
That's right. We got the right guy. You got his name announced in the Paul Brown Stadium. That's the main thing. Going back to here's the problem. This whole thing. You talk about to hit the nail right. Everybody's trying to buy wins. So all of a sudden you say, okay, why is Ohio State or why Michigan playing so and so? They might want to play somebody else, but the people they want to play say, you know what? We don't need the money that bad. We don't want to play you guys. We want to go play somebody that we know we can beat. And so it becomes a vicious circle.
We should mention that Niehoff is actually from Mason, Ohio. Incomplete, looking for another big play down the right side to Devin Smith, who has been Braxton Miller's big play guy today and last year as well. Final numbers for the junior to be 16 for 25, over 200 yards passing, and those 2 touchdowns. Didn't have a lot of rushing attempts, but that's by design. Ohio State, no desire to get Braxton Miller in the middle of those feisty defenders. Kenny Guyton is going to be tackled behind the line of scrimmage.
There's that right tackle position again.
Adolphus Washington was one of 2 players mentioned by name going into the halftime locker room as having good starts. Adolphus Washington and Noah Spence, his 2 defensive ends, who are going to be first-year starters come fall.
And here's Chase Farris, the right tackle, who's trying to win that position. You can just see how disappointing. He knows that's not going to help him. Every play is going to be graded by that right tackle position.
Again, that's Washington getting into the backfield, and he'll be credited with another sack.
Now, do you think Taylor Decker, the other guy that's competing for that position, is kind of is rooting for the defensive end in that position. Come on, baby, let's go. I want to be the starter at Ohio State.
All right, that's going to do it. We have reached the end of this spring game, but don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to have Urban Meyer talk with us in a moment. That's coming your way next, right here on the Big Ten Network.